Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you very much. Mr. Chu, thank you very much for bringing a very important topic before the committee today. John Hewitt on behalf of the grocery manufacturers and our food, beverage, and consumer product members. The issue of food waste, as Mr. Chu described, is a very real problem, and it is a top priority for our members. Case in point, over the last several decades, we have gone at the issue head on and have reduced food waste within our manufacturing facilities on average 94%. This is something that we have worked on with our members without mandatory state-by-state requirements or federal government involvement. What I will say with respect to this bill is, unfortunately, at this time, this California-only labeling proposal is going to increase liabilities, and it's not going to solve the problem that it's intended to fix. The arbitrary language in the bill is not supported by the consumer research. In turn, we don't know whether it's actually going to serve the problem that it's intended to solve. Even the NRDC's own report that was referenced by the author that's here suggests that that we don't know. We don't have that link between why they're throwing it away and what words will help them not. The good news is, though, is that the Grocery Manufacturers Association, in conjunction with our partners at the Food Marketing Institute, have convened a work group. Most recently, in January of this year, our board of directors kicked this off. The project team has been constructed. The project team is in place. They've completed an assessment of the work that is existing in this field right now. The project meeting's been set for the middle of May, and the goal of that meeting is to craft an industry proposal. We anticipate, based on our board's direction to the members of the committee, that they will have adopted a uniform national standard by the end of the year. This final work product will be based on science and data to achieve the results that are desired here. It'll establish a uniform national standard, create a clear, recognizable format for the consumer, propose clear product placement, and contain consumer interface, as well as explore additional venues for making product information available, such as safer handling, which we know contributes to food waste as well. Unfortunately, the pieces and components of AB 2725 don't contain all the necessary data to ensure that the ultimate goal is achieved. We believe that the initiative that we are proposing and that we have already started implementing, will achieve that goal. We will have it done by the end of the year. We're not waiting on Congress. We're not waiting on any of our federal partners. We're putting action into place now. We urge a no on the bill.
Dennis Albiani on behalf of the California Bean Shippers Association, California Pear Growers, and the Association of California Egg Farmers. I have two comments on two different sections of the bill. I kind of want to do an overstatement. I also represent grocery manufacturers. On state-by-state rules will do nothing but increase the confusion that occurs. If California does one magic phrase and then Oregon does a different magic phrase, it increases both the confusion that's going on as well as the liability. If we ship these products, these are nationwide companies that ship products across state lines, and if we now have the wrong pallet comes to California and it has the wrong date code on it and the wrong structure and uses a different terminology or isn't 8-point type as prescribed, then we end up with liability. We have potentially violated labeling laws, false advertising laws, and possibly a 17200. However, the system that's being considered by the Food Marketing Institute and GMA will be a national standard of practices and will be implemented within a very short period of time comparatively to a patchwork of a balkanization of this issue. So from that standpoint, I think that's there. Also, the research and education is an issue that what will actually change behavior of the folks. Finally, I'd like to talk about Section 3 of the bill, which has to do with elevated risk foods. As I discussed, I represent the egg farmers, but there's also dairy, there's seafood, there's meat, there's those issues. Right now, it prescribes how that date code should be, but right now, all those products are regulated, at least in the agricultural side, eggs, dairy, poultry, by California Department of Food and Agriculture. So this has public health and food and agriculture, so you got dual rules. There's also a very complex system of egg labeling that we have in California based on salmonella, based on the whole structure of raising them, Proposition 2, all those issues. And so we use something called the Julian date, which has to do with pack date. So do we follow the pack date, which is the law and includes all kinds of other elements to it, or do we follow this law? Those are the types of issues that this law comes in, and then the liability that comes with it. So while we appreciate the issue, bringing it forward, it's been an issue that we've been, moving on for several, months and getting a lot of work on. This bill has unintended consequences, and I think you'll hear a little bit more as we go through about the high-risk foods, as I discussed, which completely is an area that is contradictory and creates additional confusion. Thank you.
So, additional witnesses in opposition, just your name and organization, please.
Valerie Nera for the California Chamber of Commerce. We are opposed.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Tricia Geringer with Agricultural Council of California in opposition.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Trudy Hughes with the California League of Food Processors in opposition.
Okay, thank you.
Margaret Gladstein on behalf of the California Retailers Association. Do appreciate the most recent amendments the author has taken, and we want to continue to work with them, but for now we are opposed.
Thank you.
Anthony Molina on behalf of the California Manufacturers and Technology Association in opposition.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Okay, seeing no one, bring it back to the committee. Questions, concerns, comments? Anyone? Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. Chu, this federal standard is being developed. I don't know what the timeline is. Do you have a sense of what that timeline is?
So let me say the following, which is, I think we would all love a federal standard. The fact of the matter is, a federal standard has been in discussion since the 1970s, and there have been proposals in Congress, but nothing has happened. And in recent years, this issue has been discussed and discussed. There was a major study of this in 2013 that NRDC did, proposing a number of ways to address it without any resolution. And we introduced our bill in January, which is the same month that the industry has decided to come together and propose an industry solution. And let me say this, which is I am very glad that the industry is focused on this. And we have many points of agreement. I think we all agree that food waste is wasteful, it's harmful to business, it's costing billions of dollars. We also agree that there are too many date labels, and we also agree that we hope that there really should be two standards, as I've described, around quality and around safety. Now, where we don't completely agree at the moment is what exact words to use. But let me say the following. There was a suggestion that somehow the words we chose were not tested by consumer research. We took these words from what Walmart is doing and from what Smucker's is doing and other leaders in this space. But I will also say that next month, if the industry comes back and says that after we've been testing this, that there are other words that they hope to be the standard, I am very open to amending our legislation. And in fact, if that's important to colleagues, we all want one standard. And so it's important that we move forward, I think, and align what we're trying to do in California with the best practices. But the idea that we shouldn't move a bill at all, I think it's important to make sure that everyone is properly motivated to get to the goals that I think we all share.
Other questions or concerns, comments?
Yeah, what's the timeline for the federal standard if the proponents or opponents of the bill are aware of any such efforts, legislative, regulatory, or private sector?
Again, if I could just make it clear, we're not talking about a federal standard by government. We're talking about a voluntary standard that the industry represented here would propose, and I understand that GMA represents a few hundred companies, but the fact of the matter is there are almost 5,000 food and beverage manufacturing companies in the United States. And so we think it would be wonderful if GMA were to propose the standard for its members, but we want to ensure that all companies are abiding by the same standard.
To the question, so what's the timeline?
Your timeline, that's for you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, John Hewitt on behalf of grocery manufacturers again. Mr. Ridley Thomas, the timeline that the grocery manufacturers, in conjunction with the retailers, the Food Marketing Institute, is proposing for our boards of directors to adopt this uniform national best standards and practices by the end of 2016. We would like to do it quicker. I can't give you anything more than what our board of directors has given us, and that is to have something in place as industry-wide best practices by the end of 2016.
But Mr. Chu, do you have any concern that a California-only standard will be disruptive or unworkable if we have a California-only for date by labels, whatever language you use, given that we are a major producer of some of these goods? I don't know that we produce all of the or most of the goods, but a significant portion of these goods that we are significantly engaged in commerce associated with their transport and retail distribution across the world, not just across the country. Does that at all impact your thinking on this measure? Are you really concerned about California consumers and what a California consumer sees and what's in the California waste stream?
So, obviously I'm concerned both about the impact on our state as well as the fact that in our country we're talking about $218 billion a year of food waste. Now, let me actually also.
But to your point, so you're concerned about things outside of the state more than in the state? Is that what you're saying?
The hope is that rather than having, again, 24 different date labels that confuse all of us with all the products that we have in our households all over the country, that we're talking about really two different phrases. And again, and I've said that I'm more than happy to take guidance from the industry if they come back and say that the best market tested words are X, Y, and Z. That is something that I think we should absolutely consider. But let me also say this. There's a suggestion that we're sort of adding to manufacturer costs. Nothing in this bill requires any manufacturer to add any additional date labels. It's only if they are creating one of these 24 date labels in the first instance. And if they are, we're simply saying rather than using all these different words, let's just use, again, two phrases. So manufacturers are already printing what they have chosen to print, and we're simply saying let's streamline that. Let me also mention one other thing, which is on May 17th, as was repeated earlier, we are going to know from the boards of directors of these companies what their recommendation is for a proposal. So it is during this very time process. In fact, this bill likely may not even be out of the Assembly by the time we get feedback from the industry, and obviously nothing would go into effect until the earliest next year.
Thank you, Mr. Chu, for the response. Mr. Chair,
yes.
I don't know that I'm not as familiar with the concerns. It seems like we may be in this particular bill ahead of the process. Depending on what happens with the bill, I won't be supporting it today. I'm willing to give an opportunity for an industry standard if that's what a federal standard looks like, because it sounds like it's a federal waste stream concern. In the event that the industry abdicates this opportunity, I guess we'll see another bill in 2017 should this one not move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
A question, Mr. Chu. Did you not say that the federal government has been looking at this since 1970s?
There have been different proposals. In fact, if others would like to comment on that, there have been a number of congressional proposals of the year to deal with this confusion. And things have stymied. In fact, if folks want to be somewhat entertained, John Oliver, late night talk show host, recently did a segment on food waste and focused on a Republican congressman who was trying to get at this issue in the last few years around food waste and other things. Unfortunately, a bill that he was moving through the process, which everyone said was a good bill to happen, got sideswiped in congressional politics. And I think we can all appreciate, and I think even the industry would agree, that it's hard to expect that any time in the near term we're going to see much action in Congress. So the idea is to, again, try to establish a standard or a set of standards that will simplify, will streamline, and will make sure that we're not wasting food with all of the economic and environmental impacts that has.
Great, thank you. Other questions or comments, anyone? Go ahead and ask you to close. If you'd like to close, please go ahead.
I want to say not only a thanks to the wide coalition of environmental, waste stream, and consumer advocates that are moving this forward, but I want to thank the industry because I do know that at least in the last few months they are looking at this. They're thinking hard about it. We look forward to May 17th and what you come out with, and I look forward to hopefully working with the industry to figure out how we can address this and deal with this in a short time period.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chu. I appreciate you bringing the bill forward. It's obviously an issue that has been looked at from various perspectives for many, many years without much resolution. I wanted to let you know I will be supporting your bill today to further the conversation, and hopefully, maybe we don't. When we get to the end of the line here, and the two trains that are on the tracks are at the same position, and we can actually come up with a uniform standard that works for everyone. So, at this point, I'm going to recommend supporting the bill as amended and passing to B and P. Should that motion occur? Do we have a motion? We have a motion. And we have a second. So we do have a motion and a second. No, we don't have a second. I'm sorry. Well, then I will second it. So we have a motion. Now we have a motion and a second. And I will ask. So the motion will be do pass as amended to business and professions. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Wood?
Aye.
Wood, aye. Mainshine? Not voting. Mainshine, not voting. Bonilla? Aye. Bonilla, aye. Burke? Campos? Chu?
Aye.
Chu, aye. DeBobny? Gomez? Hernandez? Lackey? Not voting. Lackey, not voting. Nazarian? Aye. Nazarian, aye. Olson? Olson, no. Patterson? Ridley Thomas? No. Ridley Thomas, no. Rodriguez? Santiago? Steinnorth? Thurmond? Waldron?
The vote is 4-2. We'll leave the roll open for the absent members, and thank you very much.
Appreciate your consideration, colleagues.
Waiting. Let's go through the other bills. We still have one author. We're not sure if he's going to present today. Two authors? No, Rodriguez is presented. No, I'm sorry. We're waiting for two. Actually, we're waiting for Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Hernandez. So we'll go through the other bills and try to gather some, get caught up on our homework here. So we'll start with AB 1644, Bonta, item number 2. Calling the absent members.
Bonilla? Bonilla, aye. Burke? Campos? Chu? Aye. Chu, aye. DeBobny? Gomez? Hernandez? Lackey? Aye. Lackey, aye. Olson? Aye. Olson, aye. Patterson? Rodriguez? Santiago? Steinnorth? Thurmond? 9.
So that stands at 9-0. We'll still leave it open for additional votes. AB 1726, Mr. Bonta, item number 3. Lifting the call, calling the absent members. Call the roll, please.
Bonilla? Bonilla not voting. DeBobny? Gomez? Hernandez? Lackey? Aye. Lackey, aye. Nazarian?
Item 3.
Number 3.
3. Okay.
Nazarian not voting. Olson? Not voting. Olson not voting. Steinnorth? Thurmond? Still 9.
So that stands at 9-2. We'll move on to item number 4, AB 1739, Waldron, lifting the call the absent members. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mainshine? Aye. Mainshine, aye. Bonilla? Aye. Bonilla, aye. Burke? Chu?
Item 4, AB 1739.
Chu, aye. DeBobny? Gomez? Hernandez? Nazarian?
AB 1739, excuse me.
Nazarian, aye. Olson? Aye. Olson, aye. Patterson? Rodriguez? Santiago? Steinnorth? Steinnorth not voting. Thurmond?
That bill is out on a vote of 10-0. We'll leave the roll open, and then we will move on. Mr. Rodriguez, if you're ready, or we can. You ready? Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, please proceed.
Chair and members, I accept the chair's recommendation and welcome Assemblymember Kim as a joint author on AB 1578. AB 1578 provides a $2 million appropriation to the Emergency Medical Services Authority to cover the costs associated with storing, transporting, and maintaining the 3 mobile field hospitals that are owned by the state so that can be ready for use when a disaster strikes. Scientists have predicted that California has a 99.7 chance of having a 6.7 larger earthquake during the next 30 years. Such as an earthquake could injure more than 50,000 people. This level of casualties was completely overwhelm our healthcare system. By not funding the 3 mobile field hospitals, we're gambling with the lives of Californians, and so far we've been lucky. The important thing now is to get the funding in place. As we go forward with Assemblymember Kim, and I will work with the support and opposition to determine how to best utilize the 3 mobile field hospitals. In closing, I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. Witnesses in support?
Mr. Chair, Russell Nowak on behalf of the California Fire Chiefs Association, the Fire Districts Association of California. We're in a funny position. We are very supportive of this moving on, as we indicated earlier, and when the earlier bill was presented, and now it's been moved into this. The only clarification is Mr. Rodriguez's first version of the bill had OES in authority, and the fire chiefs and fire districts support that approach. We've been in contact with the member and the staff, and are very agreeable to continuing to work to try not only get the funding but also get the who's responsible sorted out as we go through. So we're that's clarifies our position. Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Others in support? Anyone speaking in opposition? Please come forward. Seeing no one, questions, comments from the committee?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Ridley Thomas?
You indicated you wanted to merge the bills. What's the process by which we execute that?
We're just, at this point, we're going to add her as a joint author, and we're going to not vote on her bill.
And you're going to do these amendments on, what is it, as opposed to OES, what's the other entity called?
And NIMSA is the other one.
In NIMSA?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what you want, Mr.
We're trying to work with both, see what would be the best fit, whether it's NIMSA or OES.
So you're not making that change right now?
No.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
If that requires a motion, then I'll move.
Okay. I'm not sure. Hang on a second. I had both ears full here, so your motion would be?
Do pass as amended, and the amendment that I understand is simply to add Assemblywoman Kim's name, so it's a minor technical amendment, and the author indicated that he was going to figure out which agency he thought appropriate to route the chain of command through.
Okay, and I would just say as you go forward there, we heard from OES today that they think it might be better suited with EMSA. So that just happened this morning. Yeah. So as we go forward, continued discussions on that. So we have a motion from Mr. Ridley Thomas. We have a motion and a second. Would you like to close?
Just in closing, respectfully ask for your vote.
Great, thank you. Thank you for bringing this forward. As someone who also works in emergency medical management issues, usually in morgue facilities, but also as a volunteer with the Medical Service Corps, appreciate very much you bringing this forward. It is a shame that we have field hospitals that have been left to deteriorate when we may absolutely need them. These are things that could be deployed to areas that may not have hospitals at all. And that would be absolutely critical to an emergency response. So I thank you very much for bringing that forward, and I'd like to be added as a co-author if you'd consider that. So thank you very much. So the motion is do pass as amended to appropriations. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Wood?
Aye.
Wood, aye. Mainshine? Aye. Mainshine, aye. Bonilla? Bonilla, aye. Burke? Campos? Campos, aye. Chu? Chu, aye. DeBobne? Gomez? Hernandez? Lackey. Aye. Lackey, aye. Nazarian. Nazarian, aye. Olson. Olson, aye. Patterson. Ridley Thomas. Ridley Thomas, aye. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Rodriguez, aye. Santiago. Steinorth. Steinorth, aye. Thurmond. Waldron. Waldron, aye.
Santiago was I too. Did you have Santiago?
Oh, I'm sorry. Santiago, aye.
Yeah. That bill passes 13-0. Congratulations, you're the second bill out today. We'll leave that open for add-ons at a future time. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. So we will continue going through the roll at this point. We'll go to item number 6, AB 2079. Lifting the call on this, Madam Secretary, please call the absent members.
Mainshine? No. Mainshine, no. Bonilla? No. Bonilla, no. Burke? Chu? Aye. Chu, aye. Dubovne? Gomez? Hernandez? Lackey? No. Lackey, no. Nazarian? No. Nazarian, no. Olson? Olson, no. Patterson? Patterson, no. Santiago? Aye. Santiago, aye. Steinorth? No. Steinorth, no. Thurmond? Dubovne?
Which one are we on? I'm sorry.
2079, item 6.
Dubovne, aye.
That is 8-7 at this point. We'll leave the roll open for members. Excuse me one moment. I'd like to announce that Assembly Bill, I got to find the numbers here, AB 2436, Roger Hernandez is pulled today and will be heard next week. Also, AB 2670, Mr. Hernandez, also pulled from today's agenda for hearing next week. So we will continue going through and trying to get through the votes on these other bills. Absent members, please come and vote. We would appreciate that. So we're going to move on to...
we were on number 6.
Okay, so we were on number 6. The vote was 8-7. The roll's still open on 2079. Item number 7, AB 2081 Grove, was moved with no second. Is there a second? Yes. So we have a motion and a second, and I would ask the Secretary to call the roll, please.
Due pass to appropriations.
The motion is due pass to appropriations.
Wood?
No.
Wood, no. Mainshine? Not voting. Mainshine, not voting. Bonilla? No. Bonilla, no. Burke? Campos? No. Campos, no. Chu?
No.
Chu, no. Dubovne? No. Dubovne, no. Gomez? Hernandez? Lackey?
Yes.
Lackey, aye. Nazarian?
No.
Nazarian, no. Olson? Aye. Olson, aye. Patterson? Aye. Patterson, aye. Ridley Thomas? Rodriguez? No. Rodriguez, no. Santiago?
No.
Santiago, no. Steinorth? Aye. Steinorth, aye. Thurmond? Waldron? Aye. Waldron, aye. 5-8.
That vote is 5-8. Still short of passage or failure, so we'll leave the roll open at this point. Moving on to AB 2115, item number 9, Wood. Will Madam Secretary open the roll and call the absent members?
Mainshine? Aye. Mainshine, aye. Bonilla? Aye. Bonilla, aye. Burke? Campos? Campos, aye. Chu? Chu, aye. Gomez? Hernandez? Nazarian? Nazarian, aye. Olson? Olson, aye. Patterson? Patterson, aye. Rodriguez? Rodriguez, aye. Santiago? Aye. Santiago, aye. Steinorth? Steinorth, aye. Thurmond?
No.
I have used an aye. It's 15.
15.
Do you want me to
So that item passes 15-0. I'll leave the roll open for additional voters. We'll go to the consent calendar. Madam Secretary, open the roll. Call the absent members.
Mainshine? Aye. Mainshine, aye. Bonilla? Bonilla, aye. Chu? Aye. Chu, aye. DeBobney? Aye. DeBobney, aye. Gomez? Hernandez? Lackey? Aye. Lackey, aye. Nazarian? Aye. Nazarian, aye. Olson? Aye. Olson, aye. Steinnorth? Aye. Steinnorth, aye. Thurmond?
That item has a vote of 16-0, and we'll move on. That was a consent calendar, excuse me. Item number 11-2179, Mr. Gibson. Lift the call. Call the absent members. Madam Secretary.
Bonilla? Aye. Bonilla, aye. Burke? Aye. Burke, aye. Campos? Aye. Campos, aye. Chu? Aye. Chu, aye. DeBobney? Aye. DeBobney, aye. Gomez? Hernandez? Lackey?
I'm sorry.
Item number 11-2179.
Lackey, aye. Olson?
Aye.
Olson, aye. Patterson?
Aye.
Patterson, aye. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Rodriguez, aye. Santiago?
Aye.
Santiago, aye. Steinnorth?
Aye.
Steinnorth, aye. Thurmond? 16-0.
That item passes 16-0. We'll leave the roll open for other authors to add on. Item number 12, AB 2216, Bonta. Madam Secretary, lift the call. Call the absent voters, or the absent members.
Bonilla? Aye. Bonilla, aye. Chu?
Aye.
Chu, aye. DeBobney?
Aye.
DeBobney, aye. Gomez? Hernandez? Lackey?
Aye.
Lackey, aye. Nazarian? Aye. Nazarian, aye. Olson? Aye. Olson, aye. Santiago?
Aye.
Santiago, aye. Thurmond? Waldron? Aye. Waldron, aye. 16-0.
That item passes 16-0. We'll leave the roll open for members to add on. Item number 13, AB 2260, Wood. Madam Secretary, lift the call. Call the absent members.
Bonilla? Bonilla, aye. Burke?
Burke. 2260.